The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the complete. He's crazy
As I said, Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Hello everyone and welcome to Watkins Glen for the second round of the HPP Simulation Sportscar Challenge. This is the second week of iRacing's IMSA Sportscar Championship and you're going to get to see all of the action unfold live on the global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Samuel Ryman and with me in the booth tonight is Sean Ambrose covering the Daytona Prototype and GT3 classes, and also we have Justin Prince who will bring us all the action in the GTE class. Behind the scenes doing all the button pushing is our director Amjad Yamin, and he's using camera sets provided by Ducky Beard. Justin, last week we were at Suzuka, a track that can trip up even the best F1 teams. Today, however, we're at a rather simpler circuit as far as road courses go, but in many ways it is just as challenging. Tell us a little bit about Watkins Glen International.
Thanks, Samuel. Tonight we are in picturesque Watkins Glen, New York for tonight's festivities. Since the 1950s, almost every racing class in motorsports has visited this 1,800 population town to compete on this world-famous circuit. That includes the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship coming here in real life for the 6 hours at the Glen next week. Tonight, however, the focus is on the HPP Simulation Sports Car Challenge. Drivers will be competing on the full 3.4-mile 12-turn course, including the famous boot. Tonight will also be one of two races to be a longer length this season of 75 minutes, meaning competitors will also need to focus on pit strategies. Now, to help explain how everyone will try and survive tonight's endurance race, here is your GSRC lap guide.
Alright, we've got Amjad Yamin of the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Watkins Glen. Coming down to turn 1, you can brake pretty late in the Z4, but it's also downhill, so be careful not to overshoot it. Even with all the paved runoff to the outside, you need a huge head of steam for the long climb uphill to the backstretch. The S's in these GT3 cars are easily flat out, although I wouldn't advise trying to take them too wide. It gets very narrow at some points along here, and there's no place to hide if a wreck erupts. Once we reach the top, it's now a straight shot until we brake for the inner loop. This is going to be a very popular place for passes, both with the draft and the heavy braking for the chicane. But if you enter side by side, don't expect things to end well. The gravel won't slow you down very much before you reach the Armco. From there, it's a quick flick down into the carousel. Let the car roll through and gently bring it back to the power once you know it won't push too wide. After that, you'll switch sides to line up for the chute. You've got to be accurate turning in, or else the car will want to wash out wide, and there's not a whole lot of space to save it from the barriers. Bring the car over to the left, and now we're finally at the bottom of the hill with the toe of the boot. This is another spot where overtakes might occur, but you really won't want to worry about the entry as much as the exit. The steep uphill climb puts a premium both on momentum and the ability to get on the power early. Anyone behind you with a better run is likely to have another go at you when you brake for the heel of the boot. Also, make sure to watch out for these curves on the inside because they can pretty easily unsettle the car. After that, we head back onto the main course, but this left-hander will catch you out if you aren't used to its off-camber nature. It's certain to frustrate drivers who haven't sussed out the line. From there, we have a short blast to Indianapolis. It'll be important to tuck into the groove so that you can really carry your speed. Then, it's on to the final corner where it feels more like a street course with that tire barrier just waiting on the outside. Getting greedy may cost you the race, so heads up. Hopefully, you've kept it out of there, and as we come to the line, we finished a lap around Watkins Glen.
And that was our director, Amjad Yamin, driving around the track. Get back to work, Amjad. Talking about getting to work, some drivers who were really getting to work last week at Suzuka have been rewarded by a position at the top of the point standings. Sean, why don't we take a look at those?
Yes, let's take a look at the early point standings here. Sam, of course, we've only got one round in the books, but the standings worth looking at indeed. In the prototypes, Carlo Labate there, 35 points strong in first. Now, close battle behind Michael Ivodka there in second. David Weiss in third. Blake Haswell fourth. And Austin Zetzman sits there fifth, only 9 points behind. Now, let's look at the GTE standings. I believe we have those next here. And that's where you're going to find Ronaldo Lorena there in first, 35 points. The second there, Fabio Gonzalez, Benjamin Perez. Third, Wendell Parra. Fourth, and John Ulmer, 9 points back there in fifth. And we'll move on to the GT3, where Javi Gutierrez there sits on top, followed by Dexter Castro, Benjamin Hackison, CM Skinner, and Cameron Berry, 9 points behind in fifth, gentlemen.
Some very big names in all three classes, names that we've become familiar with in other series on the Global Sim Racing channel. And Justin, I'm actually in the session right now. Looks like we have got a field of 31 cars here for tonight's race. So even though it's a rather big track, those guys are going to have to mingle with some interclass traffic throughout the race.
Yes, they will, because as we've seen with round one and in many races with IMSA cars, with the IMSA as well as the HPP Simulation Sports Car Challenge, a lot of cars will be battling each other, and it's going to affect how the results go with some of these drivers, because as we've seen throughout the weeks and how some of our competitors have been dealing with, some of the faster cars or slower cars could be used as moving chicanes, as you will. Essentially a way to position yourself for a block or position yourself for a decent pass, or to get yourself some distance. So the slower it ends up going, the worse it will end up being. And I think if you can't get by the slower cars in front of you for whatever class is higher up, or for example, if you're a faster car and you're stuck behind the slower car, etc. So it's going to be a major effect, I think, throughout the entire race, especially even though we have some very strong competitors here, as you did mention.
Yeah, and the reason we're taking a really close look at our competitors when we begin our broadcast here is because we've only just found out who they are. This is an iRacing official session, which means the serve only loaded a few moments ago. The drivers have only just worked out who they're racing out there on the course, and some drivers, they might not know. They're going to have to learn how everyone races throughout the race, and as you see here, we have all three classes decently represented throughout the field, Sean. The HPDs, the GTEs, and the GT3s.
Yeah, Sam, and I will be honest that the GTEs do have the numbers right now, but of course they do. They've got the brand new Ferrari and the brand new Ford GT, the 20,000, easy for me to say, 2017 Ford GT. So that's the class favorite right now. But we've got 8 Corvettes out there, and the Merc and Audi. There's 9 of those. So plenty of action between those two classes. Of course, the Corvette going to be the beast on this track. Lots of power to get up that long straightaway. It will definitely be fun. Sam, this such a classic track. So much fun watching races here. The trip through the carousel and down through the chute. Going to be one of the more interesting battles, I think, today, as you see classes try to get by each other. That can be a bit of a circus down through there.
And what's going to really mix things up, I have a feeling here, it's looking at the weather. The track temperature is not too bad. It's 78 degrees outside, and the track is a nice and cool 92 degrees. It's rather cool for a race here on iRacing. But the winds are quite strong and variable out there, Justin. That could shake things up.
Yeah, it could affect how some of the cars handle a little bit, and could affect how the draft works out. We've seen in some races throughout the week how the train would work, as you will, with the cars working together. So this is going to affect the handling, I believe, a little bit with this windier feeling as well. As you mentioned, today it's a 90-degree track right now, Fahrenheit. So I think right now that'll mean we're in the range where it is currently we're seeing, for example, faster lap times, which could mean more laps from these cars, which could factor in throughout the race.
And this is the top of 4 splits going on right now. Watkins Glen is not a free track on iRacing, but it's a very popular one. A lot of people own it. It's usually one of the first circuits that road course racing fans and also oval racing fans purchase when they get on iRacing, because of course NASCAR goes here. As Sean mentioned, it's the GTE class that has the numbers of Ferraris and Ford GTs with new cars. The number 1 car in this race is actually a GTE, and that's Sebastian Dunkel, who right now is on provisional pole in the GTE class. But I have a feeling, Sean, that these numbers don't... When you consider the fact that there's four splits going on, surely the number 31 car out there, I mean, it's got to be talented just to make it into the top split.
Oh yeah, definitely. You hit the nail on the head. The talent. That's what it takes to make the top split. There's a lot of it here. With 4 splits, I think that's wonderful on a Friday evening, a late Friday evening overseas. Sam, honestly, we've got the 6 hours of the Glen, the actual 6 hours of the Glen, although it was postponed on iRacing. They have not postponed it in real life. That's going on up in Watkins Glen. So I think what you've probably got are a lot of fans here. Who knows? Maybe there might be a few drivers lurking in a couple of those splits that aren't being broadcast right now. So getting their chops up to get ready to get in the car tomorrow.
And being the top split, everyone has turned to qualifying time. You see some cars still out there on track trying to get a faster time in. I think these drivers on track right now might run out of time. Maybe they're just trying to get some extra laps in. But not only has everyone turned to qualifying time, just 10 seconds covers the whole field, and let's consider the fact that that's from the fastest HPD car to the slowest GT3 car is only 10 seconds apart. That's a pretty tight field, and let's have a look at those qualifying results right now, because qualifying is just finished. The drivers are about to get gridded up, and they'll have a full lap around the course before we go green. I'll read off HPDs here. We've got Gabriel Roots on pole position by 1/10 of a second over Cy Andra. Michael Evdoka is lined up in the second row alongside David Weiss. Sam Fitzpatrick and Blake Haswell are on row 3, and then Brian Corwin and Matt Anderson round out our 8-car HPD field, just in the GT3s.
It's the GTEs actually next up in the grid, starting off with Sebastian Dunkel alongside Tim Birdie. In the second row of the GTEs, Elliot Biddle will start alongside of John Omer, coming off a decent run in the first week of the season. Zachary Hannon will start alongside Brian Sutton, coming off a 6:45 p.m. split victory, while Takane Suzuki, Ronaldo Lina will start off in the next row. Following them is Gustav Belstam alongside with Brandon Roseborough. Mark McDonald starts off in row 10 overall alongside Kimami Almeida, while Mario Teixeira and Luke Crows start off in the final row at the GTEs. Sean?
All right, yes, let's get that GT3 class in. It's going to be Rob Esterson. The New York driver will start on the pole. Great time by him. Jackie Lauderman. That's a pretty good driver right there. Jackie Lauderman going to start on in second there. Overall third, going to go to Dexter Castro. Carlos Villa will start, that's fourth. CM Skinner, fifth. Justin Richson there in sixth. George Johnson, seventh. Cameron Barry there in eighth. And Gary Perry going to round out the 9 cars in the GT3 class, guys.
And for those of you screaming at the computer saying that the prototype class are the DPs and the second fastest class cars are the GTEs, congratulations, you were paying attention, and we got 75 minutes for me to get it right and my director to stop beating me up. Alright, so the cars have rolled off for the one pace lap here around Watkins Glen. Now, of course, the boot configuration, as you saw in our lap guide, means that they are going to have to run the inner loop. But before they get to the inner loop, Sean, they're coming by the S's right here, right now. And you say from your experience in the DP cars that it is very easy to lose control of those fast machines on the opening lap.
Yeah, but you know what? Dexter Castro reminded me, this is the top split, and those guys don't really make those kinds of mistakes. It's really just me. No, seriously, though, the DP is fairly... the Corvette is very, very dependent upon some heat in the tires. And yeah, you can be one of the best drivers in the world, but you do have to be careful because the car will slide a little bit without any heat in the tires. Now, we are getting a full pace lap around, and that will help a little bit, but they will be jockeying up through there, and all it takes is for one car to get out of shape, Sam. It'll turn into a parking lot behind them, because that's a very, very narrow trip up to that climb there, that very first initial climb before you make the right-hander to get onto the straight.
Now, of course, the classes will separate themselves at the end of a lap, but even if they do, Justin, even if a DP car makes a mistake or a GTE car makes a mistake, the next class is going to come up on them in quite a hurry.
Yeah, because right now, the speeds of these cars are very quick. As you mentioned, these times are just 10 seconds apart, and you do not want to get stuck behind one of the slower classes right now. As you've seen with the qualifying times, 138 to 140 is where the DPs are running, and the GTEs are in the 141 to 143 range. Behind that is the 145 to 148 with the GT3s. But with that, you want to be able to set your pace, run consistent times right from the get-go, because it's a long race from the start. It's a 75-minute race, meaning you just have to set yourself into rhythm, time out your passes, and just be patient. I don't think you go for a big pass on lap 1, for example. I think you wait for at least an hour before you consider any kind of move like that, even if you do make a mistake like you had for your example.
An hour will be with just 15 minutes left remaining in the race, which is when we expect the pit stops to take place. These drivers will all have to make one stop in these three classes. It's a 75-minute race for those of you wondering how many laps it is, probably just a little bit over 40. The number 18 of Gabriel Roos will have control of the field. He's in that black machine on the inside as they come through the final turn here, and he's already on the loud pedal. The green flag is out. We are racing here at Watkins Glen. Gabriel Roos has a nice jump on the rest of the field, and they'll get single file in the DP class before they even make it to turn 1. Cyandra in second, and single file through the rest of the field.
And a wild start it looks like for the DPs as the GTEs are coming out of the final turn and coming down the front stretch. Off to a good start already, 2 wide, back in 4th position about for the class as they come hard into the first corner, 2 wide. And one car takes it a bit wide. We take it a bit safe there. Good corner.
The GT3s get started clean. They're already line astern, heading up through the S's now, making their way up the hill. Everybody made it through the 90 good. Oh! Sliding is Dexter Castro. Dexter slides through the S's and makes contact with the wall. Everybody beaten by clean. Dexter rights the ship, but he is losing a lot of time.
That looked like it could have been a lot worse than what it was, but still not going to help Dexter Castro get a good finish today. He qualified 3rd fastest in the GT3 class. No free repairs in iRacing, and if he does have to bring that car into the pits for repairs, which my guess is that he will still have to make one more scheduled stop for fuel before the end of the race.
Yeah, and that kind of situation is going to end up ruining your race if you do have to go in to fix those repairs and fix any damage you have, because, like you said, it's the one pit stop race with this longer time. So if you have to go in that extra time, you're losing that much time alone on the track. That's about 30-40 seconds you're losing. So you're going to lose a ton of time.
Lap 1 completed by the DP leaders, with Gabriel Roos continuing to lead the field around, and then we've got that bit of a gap back to the GTE class, where it looks like we've had a change for the lead. Tim Bertie now leading the field around the track.
Yeah, Tim Bertie is just running consistently so far, running 2 minutes 4 seconds on that first lap. And he's just doing decently right from the start. He's already about 7/10 and growing on the lead in front of the car in front of him. So right now, he's definitely having some good racing overall for him. So it's just a matter of him focusing right now. Let's go into the cockpit, in fact, if we can, to see how he's running. Or Sebastian Dunkel in second, either or. Because you can see with the Dunkel, pardon me, you can see he's just trying to focus on hitting those marks, smoothly turning the steering wheel, trying not to turn it too much, depending on the driving style. Some people might turn it more than 90 degrees. but in these cases, the top drivers are the ones turning at maybe 25, 30, 45 degrees at the most for that consistent run.
If we go back about a minute, we saw the first of what I think we're going to see a few times today, and that was David Weiss in the number 7 DP car. He was running 4th in class. He's now dropped to the back of the DP class. He's 8th in class, but at the inner loop he overshot it, and knowing he wasn't going to be able to make a turn, he just drove straight on. Of course, the penalty for that means that he had to take a slow down at the next couple of corners, and you see here that he was probably distracted on entry while battling, trying to defend that 4th position. Yeah, not going to happen. Takes a shortcut, loses a few positions, but keeps the car in one piece.
And that's the smarter thing to do, obviously, Sam. You want to take care of the car. You've got a long race ahead of you, and the last thing you want to do is force that issue, cause an incident that's going to end your race early. That was a smart thing to do. He's got plenty of time left to attack.
Brian Corwin, another DP having trouble. Same turn this time around in the inner loop, but once again he just drops to the back of a pack. He was running 6th in class at the start of the lap, so only lost 2 positions. Pretty good recovery, could have been a lot worse.
Well, Brian Corwin was saying he was having issues before the start involving his force feedback actually too, so it was a good thing he got back into the race and is back to running those consistent times, it looks like, even with that slide.
Let's go back and check on our good friend Dexter Castro back there. He, I guess, doesn't have too much damage because he stayed out on course and he's actually started picking off the tail end GT3 runners, moved up a spot over Gary Perry, Sean.
Yeah, Dexter's gathered it back up just a bit now. The damage was slight to the front end of the car. He's got a little bit there, but not enough. He has managed to continue to wheel it around, but boy, the field has gotten about 6 seconds ahead of him to the leader, so got a lot of work to do, but a great battle still going on here. Go on screen here, Brandon Roosevelt. Oh, and he goes off.
That was what I was trying to interrupt you there. I apologize. Was he went around and just lost control off the corner, smacking the wall with these cars in the GTE class. If you go too fast out of these corners, there's especially on these tires early on and later in the runs, you'll go spinning just like that. So you do not want to have something like that happen, especially early on. So he's going to have some damage already.
And it's very easy to do at that corner, Justin. That does seem to be a trouble spot on this track, no matter what series you're running in.
Yeah, that is the major corner there. They call it the toe part of the boot. So he just went. Usually cars go around in that corner or in the boot section in general. Well, I've noticed the most, but with these cars, it has been in that area. Cars trying to go, getting a good exit off the corner, end up spinning out just like that. You do not want to have something like that happen, and it's this thing that happens, like you said, with most cars here at Watkins Glen. So it is a costly mistake if you end up doing it. So timing in that stretch is perfect, could be a win or loss. And you can see here a great battle on the screen, in fact, to John Ulmer and Brian Sutton fighting with Ronaldo Liena. Right now, Liena trying to make the move alongside Sutton, and it looks like he will get it there.
And watching that battle resolve as they come back out onto the last couple of corners here, Sean.
Yeah, and that is a good one. I'll tell you what, that one seems to have settled down. The GT3 class, I've been keeping my eye on this battle here going on right now between CM Skinner, who right behind him is in the Caterpillar Mercedes, is Carlos Villa and Justin Richton there. A very spirited battle. Bridgton almost got into Carlos Villa a moment ago. These three just keep really pushing these Mercedes on the limits. Let's go through the GTEs. Another battle up there for the lead.
There was just about a battle as Birdie is letting Dunkel close in. There is still a lot of time, yes, but Dunkel is getting the better runs off the turns especially with that pull in tow. So he is just trying to claw his way down. You can see from the back of Birdie that he is just right on behind them, just about 0.3 of a second back in closing. In fact, he is going faster into the turns. So Dunkel just timing it, trying to wait and time it out to get past Birdie.
Trouble at the other end of the course. Luke Cruz in the Ford GT has spun off. This is a shame, Sean. The two best looking Ford GTs out there, I think. The Golf one and also the modern looking one we saw earlier with Brandon, I believe it was, having trouble early.
Yeah, it looks like Kraus just got loose in the carousel there. He gets through the inner loop okay. Out. And that's what it was actually that got him start offline. It was
Kimberly Almeida. Yeah, so Almeida got loose, and that started the whole situation there. As Luke Kraus was struggling a little bit before that, but let's take a look at this. Is coming through, and it looks like this is a live shot now, pardon me. I thought it was the replay for a second, but it looks like Almeida is just recovering fairly well from that incident there. As we look at the back battle front again, still very close. Ferrari versus Ford.
Ferrari versus Ford, great to see. And before we saw that spin, I thought personally it was great seeing Brandon out there. Like I mentioned, the Ford GT of old, the Golf livery, and Brandon's 2017 Ford GT paint scheme running wheel to wheel. Some of the great stuff you get to see on iRacing. Meanwhile, I've also been keeping an eye on the lead up in DP. Not a whole lot has changed. Gabriel Roos continues to lead over Cy Andra, and Cy got close a couple of laps ago, but I think he's just keeping them honest right now. Still over a full hour of racing left to go.
I agree, Sam. Cy just that's a couple of Blackadder teammates there, and they're having a little bit of fun right now. They've got a pretty good jump on the rest of the field, and it's all about keeping the car clean. Still just over an hour to go, Sam, and in these early stages, really focus, getting into a good rhythm, so important, and then maintaining it, of course, throughout the run. Make no mistake, this is an endurance race today. 75 minutes, anything over that traditional 30-45 minutes, you get over an hour. That's an endurance race, and it requires every bit of your focus.
And of course, one big key thing right now, Justin, that's happening now that we won't see late on in the race, is everyone knows that they're racing the car in front of them and the car behind them. That will last for, about a few more laps, and then these DPs will finally start catching traffic.
Yeah, and the traffic's going to become a factor, I think, because it will cause cars to be separated out behind our drivers, as it looks like Birdie has lost the lead to Dunkel right there. So the move has finally come up there, as we got an incident, meanwhile, right behind us.
Yeah, Brian Sutton and John Ulmer tried to go through the inner loop. Oh, and Ulmer comes right out on course in front of Mario Teixeira. But boy, those two made contact. There was almost a 3-wide scenario going into the inner loop. Well, 3-wide was never going to work. Unfortunately, 2-wide didn't work either. And two nice-looking Ferrari 488s there getting a little bit of body damage.
Yeah, let's go on board with Sutton here, because you can see that is right by Leanna, who just passed by them. And Sutton just had, it looks like from that angle, no idea he was to the left. Just got squeezed in going into the turn and bumped into the wall. So personally, I think one of them should have backed out into that corner for obvious reasons, but thankfully it's just minimal damage, not too much damage for him and John Ulmer. Thankfully, as we look at Ulmer, who bumped on the right side of him, Ulmer does not have much damage on him.
Okay, so we see a change for the DP lead. We just saw a change in DTE, and there goes Cyandra through to the top spot.
Yeah, actually, Gabriel Roos had gotten a slowdown. Sam had got off into the grass and cut the course there, and he let Cy get by, takes a slowdown real quick. Now just barely hanging on. Let's go to the replay there. Gabriel there in the black car, Cyandra in the green and white one.
We need to make note that at the same time, watching the inner loop, there was a change for third behind them. And that's where Gabriel Roos went off, but also the car in third place went off, Michael Advoca, at the same time, and that allowed Sam Fitzpatrick to go through into third position.
Right, exactly. Patrick now up to third, and Patrick's really been ripping off some pretty good laps, but Advoca, just this last time by, fastest fast lap of the cars out there, and Advoca back on the charge now.
So Justin, you saw this change for the lead in GTE with Sebastian Dunkel now ahead of Tim Bertie. Looks like he's pulling away from him a little bit, and we can't be too surprised because not only is Dunkel the number 1 car in the whole race, but he also started on pole position in the class.
Yeah, you can see right now Dunkel has the faster car overall. He has the fastest lap in the whole class with a 1:42.25 and is currently running a full second just about faster than Bertie and gaining already up to 1.3 seconds ahead. This time by it's just a 4/10 difference, but Dunkel's just hitting his marks and going much faster even through the S's right now than Bertie, because Dunkel, if you're looking at the speeds, is going 237, 240 miles per hour, exiting as high as 250 kilometers, while Bertie's about 3, 4, 5 kilometers slower than that through different sections right now. So while Bertie's trying to go later on braking to try and catch up, it's not working. Dunkel's getting about a tenth, gaining about a tenth ahead of him per section right now, it seems. Already up 2/10 on this lap alone.
Our first taker into the pits, no surprise here, it's Dexter Castro to come in and get those repairs done. Meanwhile, our lead DP cars have caught lap traffic. But the other thing I've got to ask you here, Justin, is about tyres. We see Dunkel pulling away from Bertie, but could he pay for it later on?
If he's overworking the tires, yes he will, because we're talking with Dexter Castro before the race. He's on top of racing the GT3s as he's in pit road right now. He also races the GTEs. So basically with the tires for all the classes really, you have to make sure you balance out the tire wear. You don't wear out the back tires as much as the fronts.
And around goes the leader! Well, and the rest go by him. Andres spins. Somehow the rest of the cars manage to avoid him.
And that too, but
no, Bruce took the lead from it, but because he cut the course, avoiding the incident ahead of him, it gave him a slowdown penalty, and that means Evdoka is now our new leader.
Now you're going to see Cy here on the left. He's going to grab that curb, and the curb sends him around, and he just loses it. And it really takes him a long time to get restarted. A lot of cars coming through, and a lot of cars caught him there in the carousel, checked up to get behind him.
And I've got to imagine, Sean, it can't be easy getting it going again, because a lot of these drivers like to have traction control built in them to help them accelerate up the turns. The downside is when you spin on course or pulling out your pit stall, and if that traction control is engaged, it doesn't help you get up to speed.
No, it doesn't, but Cy has really made the rubber angry on that Corvette, and he's going to take him a while to get things going here. He's now getting past the GT3 of George Johnson, getting his way around the Merc down into the 90.
And the DP lead is heating up again. Evdoka loses it in the S's to Sam Fitzpatrick. Boy, this DP lead is changing lap after lap now. And Justin, you mentioned how that spin could affect the tyres for Roos later on in the race. Oh, right now, boy, all these DP leaders could be killing their tyres if they keep passing each other as GT3 cars off there.
Yeah, Cameron Barry was off right at the exit of the inner loop there, and all the DPs were getting by. Boy, that was sketchy.
Think tyre wear is playing its roles, Justin.
I think that's the best way to put it, because this is around the point where cars are going to start getting really loose on this track. especially with those back tires. So if you're not managing the tires like some drivers are, then you'll have exactly what you're seeing there with some of the spin outs. Or if you go too fast through the corners or hit the curbs or whatnot. So this is the time where the tire wear is starting to become significant enough to affect how drivers are going to handle the race in general. They got to race the track now rather than just race the cars.
Well, we've seen a change for the lead in GTE, several changes for the lead in DP. What are we seeing over in the GT3 class back there, Sean?
Rob Esterson still in the lead. Actually, he hasn't left the lead since this race started in the Esterson Motorsports Mercedes. Great run here by him. Jackie Lauderman, pretty much the same. Lauderman bit on the throttle, kept it to just a little over 2 seconds to this point. He's still got the pace to hang with Esterson. This will be a race between these two. It will probably be won or lost in the pits. CM Skinner still having a good run, but right now, the leaders in the DP class getting by him, and oh boy, that's so close. Luke Krause up on the outside, inside.
Oh, trying to challenge for the lead in the inner loop. That didn't pay off though, and almost loses it.
And Roos might have got a little damage there as Cruz bumped into his right rear into the turn as well. So that was a little chaotic to say the least, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Wow. CM Skinner, Justin Richards, Richardson, all involved in it. Now here comes Syandra trying to get through here in the tow.
And as the DPs were going by all that, Evdoka was very patient. I mean, we saw him make that 3-wide move and almost brush fenders with a GT3 car, but Fitzpatrick, our overall race leader, really got bogged down by that traffic accident turn 1. Evdoka could have been an opportunist, but he wasn't, and he remains in second place, but his car remains intact.
Yeah, I think it's more important to be more patient. Pardon me, Sean. I was just going to say, I think whatever class, you have to be more patient than to try and take advantage of something like that where you could take a risk to destroying your car early on. So I think it's better to be more patient than trying to force your way by cars. But at the same time, you've seen there, traffic is hurting some of the cars in front of them, losing time on the leaders now.
Okay, we've hit this point of the race here where those DPs are making their way through the GT3s now. CM Skinner being followed up the hill right now by Matt Anderson. They make it out of the S's on the straight. Anderson going to get by clean. Skinner going to let him go. Shout out to CM Skinner. Dad this week. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, sorry, Sean. Evdoka in DP has just spun from second, exiting the inner loop. Seen a lot of this today already. We're only about 20 minutes into this race. Go ahead, Sean, as Evdoka drops back to the tail end of a DP classic.
Yeah, and God, he was having such a good run too. I was just going to say for CM Skinner real quick, he's a new dad this week. So everybody, big cheers there for CM Skinner there running in the GT3 class. The number 25. I'm sorry, did I say the number 29? My bad. Gotta adjust my rods and cones and adjust my prescription on these glasses a bit.
Sounds good, Bill.
Yes, it does sound good, but he's definitely looking pretty good there. Meanwhile, going through the GTEs, if you pardon me there, they're still seeing right now a big dominating run by Dunco, already coming up to Carlos Villa. So this is the point where they're starting to work their way through the field again. And Villa had lost a bit of control a few laps back in one of the turns, had to go through the grass. And you can see Dunkel just timing it out right, waiting, having Villa go to the outside while he takes the inside. Villa takes the earlier break. That's how you want to do it. How you don't want to do it is bump the car out of the way or cause the big one. But basically, patience is key. But at the same time, patience may also destroy you.
Jackie Lauderman with trouble coming out of the inner loop. We've got it on the replay. Wow, big mistake by Lauderman. It's going to be, again, curb. too much of it, and it gets the car out of shape, and he loses it. It snaps on him. Kind of like Castro, though, doesn't pick up a lot of damage on the front of that BMW. I'm sorry, Mercedes. I think it's going to be fine. BMW's not even here, guys.
This is me knocking on wood right now because I'm about to say that despite all of these spins, especially in the inner loop, all 31 cars that started this race are still running.
Keep knocking, baby. Keep knocking. Well, Lotterman is still able to hang on to second place after that. It certainly didn't. It didn't lose him the spot, but it certainly lost him the time. Esterson still up there running clean, but you know what, Sam? I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this battle between Blake Haswell and David Weiss. These two have been going at it for several laps here. Weiss looks to challenge down into the 90, and no, he backs out of it again. And also in this picture is Matt Anderson, who's now caught them. Again, it's been tooth and nail between Weiss and Haswell there. It's boy, I hope it doesn't end in tears.
Yeah, this is a packard. Doka will have to work his way back up through if he wants to make it to the front. As Sayandra spins from third in the inner loop once again. Does he still... No, he does lose a few positions there. He actually loses positions to that pack we were just seeing. But as we get a replay of this, Justin, something that's going to happen soon. We've seen the DP cars work their way through the GT3 class, but now they're catching up with the GTEs, and those are going to be harder to pass.
Yeah, it is, because of course they are just about 2 second difference on speed, 2 to 3 second different speed, so it's going to be a bit tougher to pass. Some cars in the GT class might actually use the DPs as draft partners, actually, if you will. Ways to gain some time on the cars in front of them, if you will. So you can see right now, as traffic right now for some of the DPs right there in that group right now, you can see that they're going to end up being a key role of how this race is going to finish out in the GT class, and I think as well the DPs, because if a DP gets stuck behind the GTEs while the GTEs are using them as slingshots, for example, then that's going to make them lose time in the lead group.
Yeah, and you saw a bit of... Anderson loses it and gets hit from behind by Estrin, and trying to get off track. He's parked there right on the exit. He doesn't know what way to go. But Anderson, his rear wing is flattened from that contact. He tries to drive away. He's letting the pack go by. But I wonder how much it's going to affect his rear downforce. And the problem is that these two had made contact just a couple of turns before. I wonder if that affected the handling. That's
the leader in the GT3 class, Esterson there, and boy, that's just that's really tough. Now I'm looking at the car, and I don't see any noticeable damage on it, guys. I'm wondering if maybe he warped through that or something. That might have been one of those damage, what we call, damaged
neck code. It's called neck code damage with those kind of situations you're describing.
I think he might have been alright, Sean. Let's put it this way. If there was such a thing as paint scraping graphics on iRacing, which there are sometimes, you wouldn't see any blue on the left side of that car, or the right side of that car. I think he's going to be alright. It's got an 8-second lead.
I think he escaped it unscathed. You're right. He does have an 8-second lead, and that mistake by Lotterman before really helped. But boy, Sam, a lot of trouble in the carousel today, or I should say at the beginning of the carousel, coming out of the inner loop. That's been a real tricky spot on this track all day long so far.
Evdoko is one of the DPs who had trouble at the inner loop. He's coming in for his scheduled stop. And Justin, it does, I agree with Sean, it confuses me a little bit because the track temperature is so low, you'd think these drivers would have enough grip to get through there.
You would think so too, but at the same time, you need to make sure you have enough fuel for the rest of the race. Maybe he's playing a strategy call, looking to get...
cars.
A bunch of cars actually are going in, following his move. At least Krause, Skinner, as well as some of the RGT3s, so it looks like a few different cars are deciding to split the race in half possibly, or just pit early for fuel and not worry about it till the end of the race.
Yeah, if you were gonna split it in half, you'd wait another 5 to 10 minutes. These drivers are pitting quite early here.
Yep, but it is pretty early. That's right for sure. As we look at the pit stop times, it looks like 20 seconds, 24 seconds is around the ballpark, 10 or 11 seconds for a few others. So the only one to really get tires that time was Luke Krause, who is last in the GTEs and last overall. So most of the cars not taking advantage of getting tires, and of course you have Anderson having to get a new wing.
Yeah, and you see why drivers aren't taking tyres when you see how long Luke Krause is in the pit stall for. A 75-minute race is not worth it for the amount of time that you're stopping. However, I wonder if Krause is also getting a bit of damage repaired and he's thinking, hey, I'm in last anyway, let's make sure this car is in tip-top condition. I can't pass anyone when I get back out on track, but maybe if this car is fast enough and good enough to make it to the finish, I can gain spots from anyone else who has trouble.
Hey guys, I want to talk about Dexter Castro again, and only because he got in trouble early, the little GT3 action. Now, he came in about 7 laps ago, about 7.5 laps ago, and got that pit stop out of the way. All right, got a little help on the car. He's back out there. The gap to the leader about 47.5 seconds. All right, he is the lead car of all the cars that have pitted in the GT3 class right now. He is the lead car. Now, the pit delta, a little bit, about 33, maybe 34 seconds, so got a little time to make up, but Dexter Castro is still fighting for a podium position here, guys, despite the trouble he had on the opening lap of the race.
And something I also want to mention while you mentioned that, the battle for position right now in the GTs is heating up around second spot. Tim Birdie currently still holding on to second, but Elliott Biddle is still trying to close in, while Zachary Hanlon is behind with Ronaldo Liena just a few meters back. Biddle has been keeping up with Birdie for much of this run already here for second position. So it could shape up though, as there are slower cars now ahead of Birdie. If Birdie doesn't get by fast, it could mean Biddle will have a shot to quickly move in, because you can see Biddle seeing that, and Birdie got a little bit of a bump actually from Barry. So right now it is Biddle trying to take advantage of the traffic right now. Let's take a look at the replay.
Yeah, we'll get a replay of that bump. Just a lot of traffic in one place there, Justin.
Yeah, it was, and it looked like Barry just went up the track a bit, got a little tight.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry
yeah,
guys, big
Sean,
trouble in the
you saw what I
yellow.
saw.
Oh, David Weiss was battling with Haswell. They tried to go in side by side. It didn't work out. Weiss lost.
Yeah,
Oh.
they didn't make contact, but they both lost control. One of them regained it, the other not so lucky. And this helps Cy Andra, was the white car you saw getting through at the back of the pack there. Actually, he's making a move on Haswell now, as Andra, after his earlier troubles, back up into third position.
And it looks like we got some more pit stops starting up in the GTEs. Mario Teixeira is going to be reining it in this time around. He is currently 9th, so he is going to play a little bit of strategy here. Here once again, 43 minutes to go. Going to get some fuel, possibly tires. Why not? He's in the back of the pack right now for his class, so he may as well try something different like he is right now. As long as he doesn't slide through the pit stall like he just did.
Yeah, very easy to do actually, considering how long this pit road is. The pit road speed limit isn't too low. Now, we do have 2 official retirements. I did try knocking on wood, but unfortunately it didn't work. Luke Krause, we saw him in the pits for a lengthy time. He finally retired from the race in his machine, and also Matt Anderson, the driver we saw who had his rear wing to basically taken off his DP in that collision in turn 1.
Well, you know what, Sam? Up front in the DP class, it's all roses for Sam Fitzpatrick, which I estimate, it's about, it's about 2:30 in the morning where he's at probably, and Well, he's all wired up right now. Got a good command here of first. Now, Gabriel Ruse has got about a 4.5 seconds back. These guys have not pitted yet. In fact, the let's see, your top 6 all still on track. Vodka out, already pit, but out only for about 3 laps right now. Matt Anderson, unfortunately, that DP behind the wall. So we've still got 7 cars out there running strong.
Yeah, 7 DPs, and as you mentioned, top 6 yet to pit. Advoca trying to go as fast as he can after his pit stalls, after he stopped to see. And I'm sorry, yeah, we've got Brian Sutton spinning in the final turn, saves it, not really. Kind of collects the wall at the end of a corner.
Boy, and that was right in front of our leader, Sam Fitzpatrick. Oof. Fitzpatrick having to avoid that.
Now let's take a look at the replay. Yeah, he got through the grass. You're going to get loose if you run there for obvious reasons. And right there, you've seen Sutton go wide to the turn, and it cost him there, immediately having to go into the pits. You can see from Sam Fitzpatrick here, he had to avoid that there as Sutton slid 45 degrees to the turn, just waits and gets by safely, thank goodness.
You saw that was all kicked off by GT3 traffic getting a little bit of loose out of a penultimate turn. Now what Sutton was able to do, since he hit the wall, entering pit road, he said, screw it, I'll just come in the pits and make my pit stop then. He is in for a long time. That makes me concerned that he's either taking tyres or getting repairs or both, which is not the desired strategy in this race.
Yeah, it looks like we got a shift for the lead after Dunkel lost it through the carousel. As the battle is currently heating up there. It is currently Biddle and Birdie fighting for position after Dunkel lost control. Well, a little bit further behind. So right now, let's take a look at this. As you can see right now, Biddle has been keeping up with Birdie for the whole time. As you can tell, Biddle and Birdie have been very close throughout much of this race. So let's go to the replay with Dunkel as we'll see what happened with him. Let's take a look right here. Of course, he was leading by a fair margin just a few seconds ago. You can see he goes through to the carousel, hits the curb a little sharp, takes it wide, and that got him loose there. He hit the curb and bounced up and bounced off the tire wall. He didn't get much damage, it looks like, but it might be a little suspension damage, possibly too, from the jump in the air. Yeah, he just took the corner loose and sharp, which messed him up for the rest of the chicane.
Which begs the question of will he pit this lap to get that repaired? He's coming through the boot section of the circuit right now. Actually, he's been out the whole lap, hasn't he? So I guess he's been okay because he didn't opt to come in last time around.
Yeah, it looks like he's just going to continue to run his race, essentially, because what we see usually with the GTEs is they run it to near empty here at Watkins Glen, which is that 36 to 38 lap mark. So right now he's just going to wait and win via the pit strategy or his speed, but who knows, he might have some damage now from that.
Pit road has become really quiet all of a sudden, which is a surprise considering we're right in the dead middle of a race, Sean.
Yeah, and you know what, I'm actually, I know what's going on up there in the DPs, but I'm watching the GT3 class because Esterson and Lauterman right now, about 9 seconds separates the two. They both have to pit. They haven't come in yet. Dexter Castro is now up to third. Okay, his laps consistent with the two leaders. Not bad. They're pretty close. Boy, I'll tell you what, Esterson and Lauterman cannot afford to make any kind of mistake when they come in for their pits, because I think Dexter Castro, again, he's worked himself up to a podium position now. I'm pretty sure he can make it to the very end of this race on the current fuel load from that pit stop he took.
Well, it's not often you spin out on the S's on lap 1 and your car comes back to tell the story, but Castro has not only been able to do that, but it looks like he'll get a podium, and as Sean mentioned, if not more during this race. He's already made his stop, and boy, his car is holding up really good for something that got in the wall pretty hard on the opening lap, I would say.
And rather than stay out there and struggle, he came in quick, got everything taken care of, and now got back out. And like I said, he's good to the end of the run. Let's just see if he can make up a little bit of time on those guys by maybe starting to turn actually some faster laps than them. And again, hope for maybe a little trouble for them in the pits, but a lot riding on the line for Castro here. He would love that podium finish after the way things started.
Yeah, he would. If we shift back to the GTEs for a second, once again, pardon me, as Dunkel right now will go to him. You can see the battle still heating up with Birdie and Biddle, but Dunkel, since that incident, I should say, he has fallen off the pace by about 2 seconds, a second and a half now, from that incident, back to Birdie and Biddle. So a big advantage right now for these two. You can look at this. Biddle has been wanting to get by Birdie the whole run already since catching up. So right now, you can see they are just trying to hit their marks together. I don't know what Biddle can really do except hope that Birdie, makes one mistake in one of these turns the way things are going.
Meanwhile, nothing has changed in the DP lead, with Sam Fitzpatrick continuing to hold about a 5-second lead over Gabriel Roos. I had the feeling, like Sean did, that Roos would run him back down, but Fitzpatrick is doing a very good job despite the fact he qualified 5th. He really inherited the lead from everyone in front of him spinning out, although he was involved in a couple of battles that he emerged triumphant from. Right now, holding on a good 5-second gap, but still those pit stops to go, Sean.
Yeah, it does look like, again, that top 6 are electing to run it out. Probably run it out just about as far as they can and look for a splash and go to get it done when it's time to finally come in. And I would imagine that's going to be pretty soon. I mean, right now we're down to 35 minutes left in this race. I think you'll see those Corvettes probably come down sometime in the next 10 minutes at least.
We'll have to wait and see. Things rather tame out there right now. I'm watching a couple of cars in the middle of GT.
Oh! Brandon Roseborough turns right. Blake locks him up in front of Blake Haswell. Haswell gets into him. Wow, that was coming out of the heel, coming to turn 9.
That could have been a lot worse. I'm looking at Haswell's car as he goes down the front straight, and he doesn't appear to have any damage.
Yeah, Roseborough just locks up the brakes in that Ford GT, and Haswell gets a little bump. CM Skinner gets side by side with the Ford GT as they get out of there. Oof, that was a close moment.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say, actually. With that, Brandon Roseborough has been struggling a little bit with how he's been running in the race. Thankfully, his car is still running fairly decently, as we're seeing on the screen right now, letting some of the DPs by. But, yeah, that could have been a lot more worse. Who knows, if he got a little more loose after the bump, that could have been disaster. Pit stops continuing, it looks like.
Yep, Jackie Lauderman making the call. He's coming in. Now, Dexter Castro on track right now, just to give us a little reference. Castro getting through the toe right now. Exit of the toe. On the straight, going down to the heel. Lauderman coming down the pit lane now. Rob Esterson, our leader in the GT3 class, decides to stay out.
Lauderman hit his stall perfectly.
Castro.
And Lauderman's moving already.
He's moving already, so Castro not going to be able to make up that ground, although Castro digging, getting through turn 10 now. Coming to the final turn.
Letterman rejoining the circuit out of turn 1, so we'll wait for the timing and scoring to kind of catch up and give you a number on that.
And yeah, just about 15 seconds, 15 and a half seconds looks like where it's going to settle in. So Castro picks up a little bit there, but that's still quite a bit of distance. Great pit stop by Lauderman, did exactly what he needed to do to keep some distance between him and Dexter Castro.
David Weiss, you see in the pit stall now. We've been talking about the 6 DPs running it out to the end. Well, this is one of them. Unfortunately for Weiss, has been involved in the wars a little bit today, and I have a feeling Avdoka is gonna go by him okay. Let's see where Avdoka is out on course, actually. Oh, it's actually going to be very close here. Weiss ahead. So, this could be a battle shaping up.
Yeah, and Avdoka has already came into the pits himself, so this could be a very interesting battle throughout the whole race. Avdoka had a 24-second pit stop, and I think, as you can see, with the 1.3 second difference, that's going to be very, very close to the finish. And who knows, if they can close up enough gap, they might be able to get a top 3 finish.
Well, I have a feeling that Avdoka might actually be looking for more here. We'll have to wait and see how much pace he's still got on, because let's not forget that Avdoka, well, we'll say that Avdoka qualified 3rd in this race, Weiss qualified 4th, so they both have a pretty similar pace. By the way, if you see one car still sitting in its pit stall as the drivers go down the front straight, there's still Brian Sutton, the driver who drifted the Ferrari in the final corner. Unfortunately, he has yet to return to the circuit.
In fact, his motor is smoking last time I checked. It was not smoking 5 minutes ago, so it's possible that it is a blown engine too that he's suffering. That sometimes I've seen happen. The engine will blow up on you while getting repairs in pit lane. I've seen that more on the NASCAR side than the road course side, but that's going to hurt. That is going to be a 40 minute repair alone, so his race might be done. Yeah,
we sent down a couple of links of sausage to throw on the grill there, pit side. Those will be ready just about time the race is over.
Let's add some hamburgers too if we're I'm coming on that line. Maybe some turkey burgers, who knows?
I'll tell you this, if you ever have the chance to make it out to a Formula 1 race and you get paddock passes or something that allow you to go around the driver's hospitality, Ferrari, the F1 team mind you, not the Sportscar team, do open their hospitality unit for lunch, and you can go in there, have some pasta and other nice little Italian foods. Meanwhile, back to the actual race on hand, us on track, we get Robin Estrin announce that he's coming into the pits this time around.
That's right. So now it's time to see what Jackie Lauderman can do as Lauderman goes around. Now there was
Mario Teixeira was just stopped on the course in a place where I don't usually expect to see a car stop.
Yeah, let's see what happened here. As you can see, he just got loose out of the corner, spun around in a complete circle, and got right back going. So he got lucky, he didn't hit anything, he just spun around in a circle. That's the best way to put it.
He was very far down the straight by the time I caught up with him. I'm like, well, if he wrecked out of a previous turn, he would have done it at the top of the hill, but made it all the way down to the bottom. Talk about wrecked Ferraris. I know he's last in class that's competitive right now, but give a shout out to Mark McDonald, who's been in the wars a bit today in his number 11 machine. The front end of that silver Ferrari there is all beat up, but it's still chugging along.
Yeah, he had lost the control through the carousel about 30 minutes ago, I think it was. And you can see the damage. He is still keeping a positive attitude. Esterson is officially in, as that was just in front of the GT3 leaders, in fact.
Yeah, that was scary. And Sam Fitzpatrick, our DP lead into the pits. But yeah, as you mentioned, Estrin coming in front of the leaders, Justin actually almost got a bit hairy in the final turn there. Fortunately, they all got through.
And Jackie Lauderman now making his approach to turn 10. Esterson still in his box. This is a long pit stop. 15.8 seconds. He's on his way. Lauderman, I don't think is going to catch him as he gets through the final turn now.
And it looks like the GTEs has a new leader. Elliot Biddle made the pass finally to get down. Let's see the replay. That was just moments ago. Using the toe, finally getting close enough to make his move past Bertie. And you can see he got in the prime position for the pass right even before the carousel and timed the corner how he needed it to go. Did not take it too sharply and did not lose control on the rumble strips. So he has been wanting to get by for laps now, and Biddle finally pulling away with the lead.
Meanwhile, of course, with Fitzpatrick coming in, and honestly, I thought he had a bit of a lengthy stop. We'll have to see how it plays out. With Fitzpatrick coming in, that means we've got a new DP leader, Gabriel Roos, but him and the 2 cars behind him, Cy Andra and Blake Haswell, also have to pit again. I say again, I mean for the first time.
Yes, because the first time you always want it to happen again, I guess is the best way to put it. I don't even know where I'm going with this.
I think it feels like the first time, Adam. I said Adam, didn't I? Justin. Wow.
Yes.
Wow, the wheels
we've had
are
Justin.
off.
Yeah, we've had Adam.
Do you see the wheels just shooting off all over the place right now?
I
in.
see the wheel shooting off of Cy Andra's car if he elects to change tyres on this stop. I doubt that will be the case, though. Blake Haswell in as well, so that means Gabriel Roos is the only DP driver yet to have make a stop.
You know, Sam, I haven't had a cocktail in over 5 years. I almost feel like I need one right now after that.
Alright, so when Andra comes out, Sam Fitzpatrick has already gone by. So yes, I guess I was mistaken and Fitzpatrick actually had a pretty quick stop.
And John Ulmer's also now in the GTE class. He is one of the first in a few laps, really, actually, for him. So he has got a quick stop, 11.6 seconds, just getting fuel. He is off and away already.
Yeah, Ulmer, let's not forget, had some trouble early on in that Ferrari, but as we haven't seen a lot of him in the recent laps, so I guess he's been having a fairly clean race. Now, what I think's about to happen this lap is our overall leader, Gabriel Roos, is going to pit. Sam Fitzpatrick will inherit the lead, I should imagine. The question is going to be, how far will Roos come out behind him? Since he's going a lap longer, maybe he doesn't have to take as much fuel. And he was 4 seconds behind Fitzpatrick before the round of stops. Let's see what he is after. Mind you, is he even pitting this lap? Let's see, the number 18 hugging the yellow line, in he comes.
Yes, sir. There he goes. Sam Fitzpatrick now on track here. Boy, where is he at? He is coming through turn 9 now, actually. Just picked him up. Gabriel still trying to get to his box. Kind of a fanboy for the Blackadder paint jobs, by the way. I love them. Okay, here comes Fitzpatrick out of the final turn now, Sam.
Yeah, I was going to say, Bruce's car looked a little beat up as it came into its pit stall there, but I thought well, mind you, he was involved in that spin, wasn't he? Anyway, Fitzpatrick goes by. Bruce now finally rolling. Fitzpatrick's going to have a huge lead.
Yes, he is. Look at that. Sam Fitzpatrick. Just really Fitzy, as it says on the side of the car. Fitzy off to a great run here. Boy, things just kind of came together for him. That was his fastest lap. He was the fastest DP on the track last time around. He gets through the inner loop just fine into the carousel.
And we got a spin in position 5 for the GTEs. Takane Suzuki is around. That was a battle we haven't gotten the chance to talk about much, as that was Gustav Bellstrom and Suzuki. You can see Suzuki was the car in front. Bellstrom just turns him around, and it looks like it was Hanlon with the move there, and the bump and run. As let's take a look at this once again. It looks like Suzuki, he just took it a bit slower, and Hanlon just saw the hole, took it, and Suzuki tried to close the door, and it just didn't work.
And these GTE cars here all have to pit still. These ones that we're watching battle in the middle of a field. That's why they're running a bit higher right now than what we saw them earlier.
Yeah, we are. Sebastian Dunkel has been finally getting to around the pace he was before, but you can see Ronaldo Liena has been on a roll since the green flag. He started off in qualifying 16th overall. Well, he has moved up 5 spots, looking to make it 6. He has just been slowly and methodically working his way through, quietly putting up the same lap times as the lead cars right now. In fact, if you look at it, he actually got faster times than Birdie, who's in second. The only car faster that the previous lap was Biddle by about 0.3 of a second.
Now, Sean, I know we've still got a long time to go and a short way to get there, and some cars still have to pit again. What are the odds, you think, of us seeing some drivers fight with fuel at the end of this thing?
Boy, I find it hard to believe up here in the top split that you'd have guys really taking that kind of risk. I would think points are at a premium here tonight. But you never know, man. Somebody, you could pedal around here and try it. I don't like your chances. I know when we talked to Dexter Castro, he wasn't real sold on the idea of trying to do it. He thought it was pretty risky. So I don't know, Sam. I doubt we're going to see that happen. I'd like to say that, but there's always one joker in the bunch who's going to try and mess it up for everybody, right?
And I think the joker might be Dunkel, as he is in the first time for the GTEs, one of the first cars, the 4th overall for the GTEs, in a little earlier. And you can see, I guess the Ferrari driver somehow got a Ford ride. But,
we got a cross-dressing GTE driver. I can't condone that. I'm sorry.
Well, you may not condone that, but he was running up at the front for part of the race until he had lost control there. He gets out with a 10.3, and he was back to around the speed he was running before the incident, before the pit stop there for about a couple laps. So he is closing in back to the pace he was at before, so he can make things interesting for this finish.
I've got to go back and do my research here, but I think it was in 1996 Monaco Grand Prix. There were 2 Michael Schumachers because David Coulthard couldn't get a helmet or something, and so took Schumacher's helmet. They took one of his spares. I'm going to have to double check on that.
I believe you do, but I still think a guy like Nando Liena might also be, who's currently going into the pits right now, actually, could be somebody to watch in these final laps too, because even though he's been a bit far behind, he's still been running the pace. There's a reason he leads the points in the HPP Simulation in Sports Car Challenge in points for the GTE with 35 so far.
Yeah, let's take a look at the points, actually. The drivers heading into this race, give you an update on how they're all running now. Our points leader coming in prototype was Carlo Labate. Well, he's not here today. In GTE, as you mentioned, it's our driver coming out the pits right now.
Yes, and that is Liena coming right out of the pits. Suzuki getting by, and he comes right out in front of Dunkel. Also, right now, Liena's going to immediately go and challenge Suzuki for the position. Right on the back bumper, going to get it. Looks like he's going to challenge for the carousel. It might be a bit close, and Suzuki thankfully backs out smartly. You do not want to go too wide, as we've seen earlier on today, through that carousel. But you were saying with the points, because we do have a few drivers who did get points in the first round here in today's second round event.
Yeah, absolutely, because now our points leader here in prototype, well, not points leader, our race leader, Sam Fitzpatrick, he doesn't have any points in this series yet, so this is going to be a boom for him. Our race leader in GTE, Elliot Biddle, I don't see him listed on the points at all. And then GT3, our race leader there, over in that class, just got to get up to speed here, Robin Estrin, guys, he's also not in the points yet, so we're really going to see a bit of a shake-up.
Hey, you know what? Right now, I've got a good battle here in the GT3 class. CM Skinner is under attack from Justin Richson. Richson, right now, the number 9 is coming up the back straight here, and taking a run at him. It's going with the inner loop here, taking a different line. Skinner playing pretty good defense here for about 2 laps now. But Justin Richardson looks like he's getting a little impatient back there and trying to work on getting around. And, you know, you throw the Ford GT in the mix here. Mario Teixeira.
Yeah, that's good. I think... Sorry. Yeah, that was about what I was going to say. That was going to make it dicey. That was what I was trying to say, but trying not to say.
Oh! Skinner slides right up in front of him there, Justin.
That's called driving.
Yeah, that is scary driving, but that could also open the door there for Justin. He cannot get by that time. But you can see another GTE right behind them too, and that is Mark McDonald. So this battle's gonna get fun, especially when you have faster cars to navigate through as well.
Yeah, Richardson is really driving the wheels off of that Merc right now. And CM Skinner can't get him out of the mirror. Slipping in behind. Here comes Mark McDonald in his Ferrari. That car looks like... No, I don't see any damage on it. Here they come to the inner loop, and he gets right back up in front of Richardson. Oh!
Yeah, McDonald's car is a bit damaged there, Sean. He doesn't want to add to it. And boy, I'm keeping an eye on that in the loop because we saw a lot of spins there at the start of the race, but it's been fairly quiet in the middle. These drivers finally respecting it as this battle continues.
Yeah, things did quiet down in the inner loop. That's a good thing. Finally, Mark McDonald clears the battle that was going on between Skinner and Richardson. Maybe they can get back to racing again.
Yeah, I'm worried that these drivers, Justin, are going to start gaining a false sense of security in our last 15 minutes. They say, oh, well, no one's spun at the inner loop in a while. I guess it's safe to go fast through there again.
That's the exact opposite mindset you want to have at this point of the race, especially when you have older tires like these cars, because this is around the point where they're going to start expiring. You're going to have cars getting looser, more looser, in fact. So that is the exact opposite mindset I think you should have. You should be trying to balance the car out still if you have worn out the tires a bit, but the pit stops are now underway as Elliott Biddle comes right in.
Less than 15 minutes to go and still need all these GTE leaders to come down pit road. It's a Biddle win. This will put Bertie into the top spot.
Yep, and Biddle going to come in for fuel. This is the exact window we expected most of the cars to come in for right now. You can see just going to get some fuel. It looks like Biddle gets a 10-2. He's right out. Tim Bertie currently leading, but he'll have to come in soon. Zachary Hanlon in second. As right now it looks like Biddle has enough distance to stay in front of Liena just a little bit.
Yeah, and Bellston also came into the pit this time around in his Ford GT.
Yep, and you can see right now he comes right out. Bellstrom has been having a decent race overall, quietly running in the top 6. As he's going to come out of the pits right beside of Cy Andra from Blackadder. So he's been having a quiet race, but he's still 19 seconds back of Dunkel, who is already pit. So he might be locked into that 6th position if nothing happens in front of him.
Cars continuing to circulate in the dying minutes of the race here, and like I say, Sean, there's false sense of security in these dying tyres. The field is spread out now, but we're keeping our eyes peeled, especially for me as Tim Bertie comes into the pits, especially for me over in the inner loop. You never know until the checkered flag falls.
Yeah, any incident can happen, as right now you can see Bertie coming right in, but anything can really happen right now. Let's take a look at Hanlon. He is going to also come right in. So keep track of both of them with Biddle's position on the track, because Biddle is coming fast. And it looks like Biddle might be able to come out with the lead. In fact, he does in traffic.
Yeah, look at this hornet's nest.
So,
yeah, that was Ross, and now Root's in second place, and DP's trying to get through that traffic here, Justin. He made it through.
yep, and now Biddle gets by another car here. So he's got, because of how the strategy worked, he came in about a lap earlier. He's got a 2.9 second lead. I think it might just be enough distance, but who knows? Birdie does have a fairly fast car, but Biddle has shown he's the faster of the two.
11 minutes left to settle the score. Meanwhile, haven't missed anything in DP. Sam Fitzpatrick continues to lead as we have a couple of tail-end GTE cars, I would say. Brandon Rosenborough and Kilmoney Almeida coming into the pits. Let's do a top 5 rundown of each class, starting with the prototypes. Of course, Sam Fitzpatrick, as I mentioned, has a 7-second lead now over Gabriel Roos. It looks like it's going to be a win from 5th on the grid from Sam there. A very well done driven race if he can hold on to it. 3rd place in the prototype class is Cy Andra. We saw him running in 2nd place in the early stages behind Roos. Unfortunately for him, he had a couple of spins of it. As has well, the driver who we would have got to in the moment in 4th in class is now dropping back the oldies back to 5th behind David Weiss, who moves into 4th in class.
It's contact between him and Weiss. You're gonna see it here. That is a tough spot right there. Turn 9 can be the end of a race for a lot of people. David Weiss gonna get ahead of that.
And Evdoka, Michael Evdoka moves up ahead of Blake Haswell, ahead of that to take 5th. Now, of course, because this is an official series race, you can protest incidents, although I have a feeling that's a race incident. But if something happens like that, there's no league organisers around to throw a black flag or to say, hey, give the position back. So that's that settled with. Justin, over into GTE.
Yeah, the GTEs right now, Elliott Biddle still running well and currently far ahead by 5.3 seconds, up to 5.4 over Tim Birdie, as Birdie continues to run 2nd. He just got to the traffic. Ronaldo Liena is currently running in 3rd position and are 2 seconds back, trying to close in on Birdie to get to 2nd on the podium. Sebastian Durkel is currently in 4th position. Right now, he had a bit of damage from that incident from before, but he's still running strong, running 143.2s and 143.3s right now. Zachary Hanlon right now is in 5th position, currently being passed by a Daytona prototype, but right now currently in position by about 14 seconds. 5.5 behind of the car in front of him in Dunkel. Sean?
Yeah, you know what? I'm still following the action here in the GT3s. You know, that battle that was going on between CM Skinner and Justin Ritson. Well, it's dissipated a little bit. You know, it seems like Ritson has been pushing the car a little bit too hard. He might have some under tray damage to the Merc that's really scuffing off speed for him right now, because he just can't seem to hang with CM Skinner, who, you know, is fighting so hard to keep that 4th position. He is up 4 spots. Dexter Castro still sitting alone there in 3rd. Lauderman, a good 10 seconds behind our leader, Robin Esterson. Now, that is your top 5 in the GT3s. Again, the best battle, though, on track. CM Skinner and Justin Ritson still. That 4th position, probably not decided until the last couple laps. I'm not willing to give up on it, as it looks like the DP leader coming through now.
Zachary Hanlon just had an off course, and that cost him a position, and it happened in the inner loop. He never really spun or anything. He just lost control entering the inner loop, slid through the gravel, lost a position, drops out of the top 5.
Yeah, let's look through the GSRC replay right here of that exact incident going through the inner loop. He just locked up the brakes all of a sudden and just went into the gravel. I don't know why he decided to just brake through the corner. Maybe he was thinking he was taking it too strong and was going to spin out of the inner loop. So, a bit of a confusing situation there, but I guess you considered that better than potentially getting loose.
Yeah, that was my guess, Justin, is that he had a bit of a bobble entering the turn and so locked up the brakes to avoid it from spinning and dropped one position because of it. Not a nice thing to happen with less than 7 minutes left. I would say about 4 laps left of this race.
Wow, what? Really? Did I lose something here? Are you saying this race is almost over? I thought this was a 75-minute race, guys.
Almost over in terms of time, Sean. I'm not sure about action.
No, really, I can't. Honestly, this race has flown by. The 45-minute ones seem like they run really quick. 75 minutes, I think we've knocked it out in 75 minutes. But, man, it really has flown by.
I think right now is not the best time to start falling asleep either, because this is when last week action really started to pick up in these final 6 minutes or so, because that's when everyone started to really claw the way for positions, especially stuff like what you're seeing here with the GT3s. So, and it looks like Sean has fallen asleep.
No,
Nope,
I'm watching. I was watching
here,
Sam
buddy.
Fitzpatrick across the line trying to calculate how many laps he had left.
Yes, right now it's one of those times where, of course, it's also a 75-minute race. The broadcasters might be zoning out a bit as Sam Fitzpatrick, as you can see, with the Daytona prototype, still with that 5-second lead over Gabriel Ruse.
Well, that's closer than what's been before. I have a feeling that's just due to a bit of traffic. I mean, it's nothing for Fitzpatrick to start worrying about. But in my habit of trying to make excitement in the closing stages here, one thing you could argue, of course, is that he's backing off a bit to save fuel in case we get an extra lap. But I have a feeling, as Sean mentioned earlier on, though, Fitzpatrick had a pretty good lead before he came into the pits ahead of Roos to begin with, so he really didn't have to worry about short pitting, in my opinion, to maintain that top position.
Okay, hot spot on track right now. CM Skinner getting...
David Weiss
trouble
is
for
off
Weiss.
back on.
Weiss again. Oh, no.
Oh, and he's trying to turn it around, and it's the worst possible time. Thankfully, no cars. Thankfully, they get through safely.
Listen, things had
2 spots.
Sorry, Sam, but things had quieted down there in the inner loop, and then all of a sudden it erupted again. David Weiss, not been the greatest day for him.
Yeah, that drops him 2 spots, as we mentioned. The problem is with only 8 cars in that class, he pretty much goes from the middle of a field to the back of a field. 4th out of 8 cars to 6th out of 8 cars.
Yeah, and Weiss had finished 3rd last week, so this is a major drop-off for him, unfortunately for him. So, bad luck here tonight here at Watkins Glen.
Our first driver perhaps to realise they couldn't make it on fuel, Kilmani Almeida into the pits with just a couple of minutes left to go.
That's what happens when you don't add up the math in your head correctly when you're going to pit. You have to know what the exact gallons you want to take. That it might be too much or it will be enough to finish. Unfortunately, he did not add enough fuel. It looks like possibly a gallon or 2 short.
Well, if it was just that much, I'd have a feeling he'd be rolling out of a pit stall by now. Maybe he has another issue. Meanwhile, back in GT3, a battle I've been keeping my eye on. It's not exactly for a prestigious position, but Cameron Berry just running right ahead of George Johnson. They've been like us for a little while now.
Yeah, they have, and I feel bad that we haven't covered more of it. It does seem to be kind of heating up now, but with just a couple of... yeah.
I think he's going to have a slowdown for that. Johnson made the move, but cut across the grass, and he'll have to yield the position.
And, you know, you've got that DP coming through here. David Weiss still trying to make up ground here. Real sketchy getting around Cameron Berry in a bad spot here on the outside. Got to be careful.
By the way, with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock, our leader, Sam Fitzpatrick, just crossed the line. That means we have 2 laps left to go.
This is going to be a wild finish for all the classes, possibly, while Sam Fitzpatrick is still pointing ahead. There's still a few positions to decide. Take a look at the GTEs right now with Ronaldo Liena still closing up on Birdie even more and more each lap. As you can see by the lap times right now, the past lap with Liena had the faster lap by half a second. So that is going to be one battle to watch coming to the finish line here.
Probably the most prestigious battle still going on the circuit, and DP's ahead of them. Every driver's spaced out by about 10 or 20 seconds.
Yep, right now it's just everyone's trying to either focus on getting a higher position or just focus on not making a mistake. Right now, Birdie is the one trying to focus on not making the mistake.
1.5 laps left to go for these 2 drivers as they go through the boot section. About half a lap ahead of them, Fitzpatrick is crossing the line with 45 seconds left on the clock. White flag is in the air. This is the final lap.
I love the final lap. Cy Andra making his way around here. One more time for him. Been kind of an up and down race for Cy. He's holding on to the podium position, though. I think he's going to get it because Zavodka is sitting about 21 seconds back, almost 22 seconds back from Cy. But Cy got a long way to go to catch Gabriel Rude. In fact, he's not going to be able to do it. He's 8.5 seconds behind him, but for all the trouble that Cy had, he is probably going to wind up with a podium finish here.
Yeah, meanwhile, Avdoka in DP has moved his way up into 4th in class. Just a few turns left to go, though, for Sam Fitzpatrick. I think we saw him involved in a couple of battles early on, like I said, but really...
And let's go to the GTs for a second because we got the battle finally. Liena's finally caught to Birdie because of traffic. And there is Birdie losing the position to Liena. Liena will get it going through the inner loop. And now they still have some lap traffic to negotiate with.
As we watch out, we'll get back to that in just a moment. And I'll tell you, the last DP running on course, Brian Corwin had to make an extra stop with 1 lap to go. Sam Patrick, though, as we mentioned, been a lot more fortunate. He's kept his wheels, kept his car pointing in the right direction. Only has to do it for 1 more turn now. He's got 3.5 seconds ahead of Gabriel Roos. He's backed off a little bit, knowing that this is the main prize. Doesn't matter how much he gets it by. He gets the checkered flag. Sam Fitzpatrick wins here at Watkins Glen. Sean? Justin, brother?
Yes,
Yeah,
Elliot
go ahead,
Biddle,
Justin.
meanwhile, still racing well right now. He is in his own world. He just has Mark McDonald in front of him, who is a lap-down car with damage. All Biddle has to do is focus on these final corners, and he'll have the victory. In fact, he will. He'll get out of the corner cleanly and take it to the inside and weave a bit as he takes the checkered flag as he blinks his lights in celebration.
Robert Esterson still working his way around to complete his lap. And when he does, he will wrap up the win. In fact, okay, no, that's official. Esterson, well, no, okay, no, he's got to finish this one here, Esterson. Still getting around. He is going to win this race.
He's got
Great race by Esterson today.
He's got a pretty handy lead over Lotterman right now as he works his way into these final sequence of turns.
Pretty flawless drive for Esterson today. The only trouble he saw was really just the traffic around him and letting it get by. Car scraped up a little bit, but for the most part, going to bring the Merc home clean. The Esterson Motorsports entry Again, great drive here from Robin. Coming out of the last turn, he's going to take it up the straight and across the line. Waving it at us now. There's Robin Esserson, your winner today in this 75-minute race. Congratulations.
So that is our winner of the DPE class, the GTE class and the GT3 class. So we watch the last couple of cars finish up a race here. We're going to take a quick break. We will be back with full race results and some drive interviews here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Don't go away. Hello and welcome back to Watkins Glen International, where we just witnessed the second round of the HPP Simulation Sports Car Challenge, which takes place at 8:45 PM each Friday night in the official iRacing IMSA Sports Car Championship Series. Let's run down the full results for you, starting with the prototype cars where Sam Fitzpatrick held on by 4 seconds to win over Gabriel Roos. Syandra finished third in class ahead of Michael Evdoka. Blake Haswell, David Weiss and Brian Corwin, they were 7 of the 8 cars in the prototype class today. The 8th one, Matt Anderson, was involved in a crash in the middle of a race. So now let's go to Justin with the GTEs.
Yes, Elliot Biddle came away with the checkered flag in the GTEs today. Reynaldo Liena came all the way from 6th in class in qualifying to finish 2nd on a good run. Tim Birdie finished 3rd in a close one. for that position. Sebastian Dunkel had been leading at the start of the GTEs for much of it until he got loose through the inner loop and smacked into the wall, getting damage, costing him some time. He finishes 4th. Gustav Bellstrom finishes quietly in 5th position, while Zachary Hanlon finishes off in 6th. Takane Suzuki finishes off in 7th position. Behind him was John Elmer, while Brandon Roseborough finishes off. Right behind him, Mario Teixeira will finish behind Roseborough, of course. Mark McDonald finishing 4th to last in the class. Kamari Almeida, Brian Sutton, and Luke Cruz do not finish in their class.
All right, now let's go to the GT3s where we saw Rob Esterson get the win here today. A nice clean one for him. Jackie Lauderman going to finish 2nd. Dexter Castro, after a first lap spin, yes, he manages a podium finish. Good job there, Dexter Castro. CM Skinner fought hard to get that 4th place finish today because Justin Richardson was chasing him for most of the race, guys. Carlos Vila is going to wind up 6th today. Cameron Barry, 7th. He will finish with everybody else, but George Johnson and Gary Perry going to finish a lap down, and that's going to round out the 9. But all of your GT3s do finish this race, guys.
And well done to all of those drivers. We got one last driver on the last page there, Luke Krause, who had a bit of misfortune early. All right, so let's talk to some drivers. First off, I'll start by let's do a Sam on Sam interview with our overall winner, Sam Fitzpatrick. Sam, do you have a copy?
Yeah, I hear you fine. Yeah, how are you guys doing?
We're doing great. We assume you're doing fantastic as well. Did you think you'd get the win today, starting 5th on the grid?
Not really, no. Qualifying went decent. So early, like where I am, I was really tired for qualifying, so I made a couple of errors, but kind of everything just went my way in the race, and yeah, fantastic result in the end.
We saw a lot of drivers in the DP class spinning out in the inner loop, especially early on in the race. Did you have any moments there? Was it really tricky to get through that sequence of turns in that vehicle?
It wasn't too bad. I felt the curves at the bus stop are like really difficult to deal with if you don't get the line right. But my setup was really handy today. And the track grip was actually quite good. It was quite a cool track, so yeah, it was just brilliant setup, and the car was really nice to drive, really.
That's great to hear. Now, once you got the lead and it was the middle of a race, you made your pit stop, you saw Gabriel there about 5-6 seconds behind you. How concerned were you that he might run you down toward the end of the race?
Well, he's such a quick guy, so I knew there was always a risk, but pretty much after my pit stop, I was running in fuel mixture because I put a couple of litres too little, so I was just making sure I kept the gap at about 5 seconds, and the traffic helped me out quite a bit, I think, so just managed to maintain that gap at about 6-7 seconds and managed to carry it home in the end.
Yeah, we wondered if fuel was going to be a concern at the end there, but as you mentioned, you brought it home with 4 seconds to spare over Gabriel. Looking forward to Sonoma next week. We look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, interesting circuit. Have no idea the way round, but yeah, should be a good race.
Alright, so that was our overall winner, Sam Fitzpatrick, in the prototype. Now I'm going to hand it over to Justin, who has caught up with our second place finisher over in GTE.
Yes, so we have Ronaldo Liena finished off second in the GTEs today after qualifying 7th in his class overall, 5th, pardon me. Again, as it's getting a bit late here, but basically, Ronaldo, how does it feel to have come from basically in traffic as you did at the start of the race to where you finished off?
Well, I actually qualified 8th, Justin, so I'm just correct you right there. I actually qualified 8th.
Okay, this is I'm very bad at math in my head this late at night, but how did you...
It's okay, Justin. I'm just messing with you. I'm a broadcaster myself. I used to host a radio station, so I get called on that all the time. So don't worry about it. It's fine. But To answer your question, basically, I just had to mind my own race and mind my own pace. I know I messed up qualifying, judging I qualified where I qualified. Watkins Glen is not exactly my best track. It's probably, in fact, one of my worst, at least in my opinion. But other than that, the whole race was, hey, let me just, you see that little, the Ferrari has this little time difference thing between your fastest lap? Let me just see if I can put the minus sign every single time. And sure enough, that's the game I played for the entire 75 minutes, just trying to go faster and faster as the tires wore down. And sure enough, my fastest lap was lap 30.
Yes, you ran at times about the same pace, if not faster, than the lead cars in today's race with that strategy. But with what you were doing, as you said, you were racing in your own race. It ended up with a very close finish with Tim Birdie. He goes to the final laps trying to catch up to Birdie to try and get second on the podium.
Yeah, I know Birdie's fast. Birdie's always been fast ever since I got here, and Birdie's also a close personal friend of mine. And so I know what he was going to do, and I noticed this is like, hey, I'm catching Birdie, and I'm like, oh, I'm like 6 seconds off at the pit stop, and then after the pit stop, I'm 4 seconds back. I'm like, all right, I think I made 2 seconds on the stop. Let me close the gap a little more, and sure enough, an opening opened up with on the final lap through the S's with the DPs and the GT3s in traffic. Birdie got forced wide on the second part of the S's and had to lift off, and I just took advantage of it, kept my foot in it, and passed him around the outside in the S's.
Yes, and it was a good move indeed, as Birdie at the end of the race, I think jokingly also drove into the tire wall at the end of turn 1 after, or with that great battle at the finish right there. But basically, how was it to work through some of the traffic as well through the race while you're working, well, basically just racing the track?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there was a couple of interesting moves between the DPs and the GT3s, but I gotta give props to everybody in this race. For the most part, most people in this race knew where each car was faster. Watkins Glen is one of the easier multi-class tracks IMSA goes to this season. So I think this race with the balanced traffic and that everybody had an idea of where you could pass, where you can't, helped out my race just a little bit.
Yes, sir, as of course we're going into Sonoma next week, a much different track compared to this, I guess you can say in some aspects. What do you hope to do there with Sonoma?
Same thing I did here, remain consistent, go fast, go faster, and then try and go even faster in the previous lap. You know, it's all about improving.
All about improving indeed. Thank you very much, Ronaldo, for your time. Congratulations on finishing second today in the GTE class.
Thank you.
All right, and we thank him for coming in. And now let's talk to Dexter Castro, who had, let's say, a pretty interesting race. Dexter, just a nightmare on the first lap, but brother, you brought it in early, and I think that was the turning point in the race for you.
Yeah, well, I was talking with you guys before the race about how on edge the Mercedes is through the S's, and sure enough, I got a little blinded by the car in front of me, got offline and just spun it all on my own pretty much, and caught the wall, had some damage, was probably losing about half a second a lap, and that made it so that when I caught up to the back of the GT3 field, I just couldn't really get through. So lap 8, we had the prototypes behind me, and the last prototype was only about 30 seconds behind me, so I figured, hey, I'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone and not have to deal with the GT3s and not have to deal with the prototypes.
Yeah, I think that was, like I said, a real difference maker for you. And boy, you put in a really solid drive after that. I mean, I watched you pretty closely. Did you have any trouble after that? I think you were pretty clean after that, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, there were a few aggressive moves or miscommunications or something with some of the cars, but I mean that happens, and that's going to sort of happen sometimes when you do that early stop. People don't realize that you're actually fighting for a position because you're so far behind so early. They think you're just having a bad race, but I was fighting for a podium even when I was even on lap 10 when I was 30 seconds behind. But sometimes that happens, and just had to keep pushing and fight through the damage, which definitely was costing me some time. I was having a bit of trouble getting by GT3 cars, but it all worked out. I think I might have had something for Robin though if I hadn't had that spin.
Well, you did say it yourself. You didn't think anybody would spin up to the S's in the top split.
I didn't think a Daytona prototype would spin in the S's.
Oh, okay, that's what you said. That's right. Okay. No, hey, listen, congratulations, because you salvage a podium finish. You got a podium finish that's going to keep you right up there in the points. Great job. We'll see you next week, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Sam, that was Dexter Castro. What a great run for him. I think you're going to ask Cy Andrew a question real quick.
Yeah, we're running a bit low on time, but we got a couple questions here for Cy Andrew. Brought home a podium finish, but Cy, it could have been a bit more. You had a bit of trouble early on, though.
Basically, what happened was I took a 1-2 for the team and made it a 2-3.
Yeah, but what was it with that inner loop? We saw so many prototypes spinning out there early on.
Mainly, I think it's just because the profile of the curb makes it very, very interesting to drive over at top speed. Basically, if the underbody hit the curb, it would shoot the back of the car up and put you sideways instantly. So unless you were very, very quick catching the slide, you were going to go around. It caught me out twice. I think it caught Michael out once, and a few other people as well.
So are you satisfied with the third place finish, and what are your goals heading into Sonoma next week?
Absolutely not satisfied. I definitely had a chance for the win there, and I definitely had a chance to at least fight Gabriel and Sam for the win and second place. I think we kind of were robbed of a good finish there because of how spread out we all were, even though we were turning pretty much the exact same lap times over and over again. Going into Sonoma, I want to take the pole, and I want to just win from the pole. That's my goal.
Yeah, that sounds like a good goal to have. We wish you the best of luck at Sonoma, Cy. See you next week.
Thank you. I'll see you guys then.
Alright, so that was our third place finisher in DP, Cy, and Andrea. And we'll get to see him next week in 1 week's time at 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Same place, same time here on the Global Sim Racing channel. And Justin and Sean, if it's anything like the opening 2 rounds have been, I think we're going to see some interesting things happen next week when we go to wine country. Justin?
Yes, I think so, because it's going to be a much different track. Another track here this time going to the America's West Coast, as you mentioned, to Napa Valley. So it's going to be a lot of up and down turns, tight corners. So this is going to be a completely different race from what we've seen today, I think, because it's a completely different track. Yes, it's the same tighter turn, but it's also a harder track, in my opinion, as well, compared to Watkins Glen.
Yeah, definitely a lot of twists and turns there at Sonoma. Well, before we go there, we've got some people we would like to thank for tonight's broadcast, including HPP Simulation and Mark Hargett for putting on this championship, as well as the IMSA community for putting on a fantastic show tonight. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware that you see there listed on your screen. There you go. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde who provide us with our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of our great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Justin, Amjad and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at facebook.com/globalsimracingchannel. Our next race, as we've mentioned, is at Sonoma, which will be at 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time next Friday here on the GSRC. We also have upcoming races for our other series listed on the screen, so be sure to check those out. Mark them down on your calendar, and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.